This is Brownie's Podcast!
Degenerates, thanks for tuning in. If you're new to us, welcome. Subscribe and all that stuff. And a shout out to our loyal group of degenerates on this WhatsApp thread we started from day one. And some pretty spicy stuff happens in that chat room, let me tell you. What I'm looking up on the screen here is a man up north that I like to call not Jonathan Brown, but Summer John. And what do
Great to be on here.
What do I mean by that, Campbell, do you think?
Well, his growth is a little bit longer around the face. He's got a New York Yankees hat on. Obviously, it's pretty sunny up there. The tan is becoming browner and browner.
He looks like relaxed, like he's been making love. You know what I'm saying?
How's the goatee? Look at the thickness of the goatee. It's actually revolting, isn't it?
Take your hat off, you son of a bitch. Let us see what you got going on. Oh, yeah. Oh.
Hey, it's real Summer John stuff. No extracurricular activities at the Brown household. Can't get within a bull's roar of Kylie Brown. She's not a big fan of the whiskers. Like I said in the last podcast, celibacy needs to be celebrated.
Jonathan told
because that's what my life revolves around.
Jonathan told me privately that he's going to get some Brian Myers dreadlocks, and I'm so excited for that look.
I was talking to a real estate agent this morning, and he actually told me that no one here in Victoria can actually afford to buy John O'Brown's house. How are the offers going, mate?
Well, swimmingly. Apparently, a lot of people turning up. It doesn't necessarily mean the offers are coming, Brown Dog. I think they're keen to see the 2002 Mark of the Year plaque that I've got on the wall. Obviously, Johnny Barker's been there several times.
Pick some of the grapes. Pick some of the grapes on the vineyard.
Jonathan, can't you just call Lindsay Fox and say, man, just take it off my hands?
Wouldn't that be handy? A little bit of cash. Well, Dan Andrews is out of a job, so maybe Dan's got a little bit of extra cash squirreled away.
Hey,
there's a couple of deep holes out in the backyard that he could necessarily put some of that union cash in.
I tell you what,
but
JP.
hey, we've got to be quick, guys.
Yes.
We've got to be quick.
Right.
Let's just put this straight on the table. Obviously, I'm working in difficult circumstance at the moment. I'm working on my kid's iPad, so you can all see. And as we know, the last 2 or 3 podcasts, boys, I have run out of time. I have to request a new time limit after half an hour, and I have to start sending messages to what I thought was Google, but it's actually, in fact, my wife, Kylie Brown. I have to request more time. So can we be snappy?
And you know why that is? Because Bam Bam gets on it and just simply Googles the word boobs.
Yeah. I'll tell you what we did see. We saw a Dan Andrews version of Summer John as well, just coming through the New York line to get on the plane there through transit. He's gone with the beard. He looks very much like a man that's nice and relaxed and out of a job.
Hey, we got so much.
We've got a lot of similarities.
We got so
a lot of
much
similarities. We don't mind a little sneaky gasper on the side too.
That's right. Don't know what that is. Hey, we got so much to get to. Dogs found this audio out of England that is just. It's so far up our alley, I can't even tell you. Brodie, we got some quiz fallout because the guy that came on, Kane, that came on the phone and lost to you, turns out he was very rude to a dear member of our degenerate team, Sherry. Oh, so we pissed him off until he makes a formal apology and acts like a fucking grown-up.
And I've got a new challenger. His name is Chris. I'll be taking him on today. He thinks that he's got more football knowledge than I, but I can absolutely assure him that he doesn't.
First, I want to get to... Yes, John?
Has anyone spoken to Mugsy? Because obviously
I saw him at the races Saturday.
All of a sudden, this trivia has become a big thing again. So Mugsy be as flat as a pancake, wouldn't he? Because we'd build him up.
Yeah. He was in my marquee at the races, and I had a good chat to him, and he asked when he was coming back on the podcast, and I said, look, it was us, not you. It was like a real breakup. I said, look, we obviously aren't the most organised people.
That's the truth.
It is, but I'm not sure he 100% believes it.
Hey, what about if Muggs hosts the trivia? Like the showdown between you and people. Maybe?
Yeah.
Anyway, regarding Mugsy, some old footage surfaced of him as a young forward pocket or something trying to evade some players. And what happens to him is... It's so beautiful.
He gets split in half.
Oh, boy.
I like to call it being shit mixed.
Mate, John, he gets so hard. He gets hit so hard he turns into mist. So we're going to get him on next.
He just disintegrates in midair.
We're going to get him on next pod. We're all going to watch it 10 times and just talk about what exactly happens to him. Because it's gorgeous.
For everyone who's just joined the podcast, Mugsy is Brownie's idiot cousin that we love. That is just kind of... How would you describe Mugsy?
He looks like Pitbull. He will sing a Pitbull song at the drop of a hat if you ask him. And he
does not look like Pitbull.
What are you
Let's
talking
just
about?
clarify something. He does not look like Pitbull. He's got a bald head. That's the only similarity.
No, he looks like Pitbull. And one time he tackled Jonathan off-season and broke his rib. And then Brownie couldn't tell Lethal that he'd had a broken rib because his dickhead cousin Mugsy tackled him. Like, that's just gorgeous stuff. So we're going to get Mugsy on next.
I'll tell you what we did do. We sort of broke the story that Brodie Grundy was going to be traded. That happened, late last week. And I reckon you and I put that on the agenda, JB, back in about July, about round sort of 17 or 18 after he got dropped.
Did you say Sydney, though?
No, we didn't say the well, we sort of mentioned Port Adelaide was the logical one, but it later became apparent when Tom Hickey retired and Laddams is up there, sort of God knows what he's doing at the minute, that they would be in the mix for it. So hey, we're just fortune tellers and Nostradamus.
And yet again, we get zero credit from any of the media out there. Those sons of bitches. But
why can't you tell your crew at SEN and on Trade Radio that maybe put you on a bit more, Brown Dog, because the actual things that get tossed up and talked about actually come to fruition, unlike all the SEN trade bullshit.
I wish there was a stat about Trade Radio that said what was true and what was not. There needs to be a stat.
Success rate.
I would love it. I would kill for a success rate.
That'd be good, wouldn't it?
Oh.
I know who is 100% wrong, and that is Sam McClure, who was adamant that Harley Reed wouldn't be going to the West Coast Eagles.
He went hard, eh?
And he will be there. You can mark my words.
Ooh.
He will be at the West Coast Eagles with pick one. The offers that they have been sent to them to try and pry the number one draft pick out of the West Coast hands have been nothing short of phenomenal.
Really?
And they don't want to budge. And he's a good young kid that he's absolutely adamant that he wants to play for the Eagles.
John?
Is it true that North Melbourne put up 4 first-round picks for that number one pick of West Coast?
I don't know the exact number, but I do know that what clubs have been doing and trying to work to get it have been like nothing we have ever seen before, JB.
Yeah, and he's the real deal, right?
Well, we think so. I mean, his junior career is outstanding. They reckon he's a good young man. He's got leadership potential, and they just want him.
Someone roped him into doing an Instagram ad for some energy drink.
Oh,
Jesus. Oh, man. It was clunky.
But he's got a bit of swagger as well. Like, he's not even on the list yet, but when he's doing interviews and everything, he's already sort of chiming in.
I like the fact that he's a country boy as well.
Yeah.
And that's how... the Brisbane Lions, they changed their recruiting strategy a few years ago when they had the go-home 5. They draft a heap of Metro boys. I remember Elliot Yeo,
Jared Polak.
Jared Polak, Billy
Sam
Longo,
Doherty.
Paddy Karnitsis. And they were mostly Metro boys. So after that, they lost them all. The Lions went back to a strategy of drafting country boys, especially Vic country boys, because they found that more independent, probably tougher, and don't miss mummy as much because obviously they have to move home no matter what.
There's nothing
Harley
wrong.
Reed's a country boy. There's not going to be a problem with him going to Perth, Dino. He's not going to get homesick until it's contract time when the manager will toss that up just to get an extra couple of bucks on the contract. But I think he'd be a great pick, and he'd want to be because the amount of talk around him is generational talent by the sounds of things.
Well, this is him talking on a podcast that I should credit, and I'll do it later, but I've forgotten.
Movie hasn't been as big a drama for you that has been made out at different stages. Yeah. Do you want to say it again?
Like, I've never even said it to anyone that I've never wanted to go at all. Mate, I'm open. They take me at 1, I'll be going a heartbeat.
That's pretty big.
That's adamant.
That's the Gettable podcast.
Is it?
Thank you to the Gettable
What about
Thanks,
he was having a chat to Scotty Cummings on SEN, and Scotty said, is there one thing or one thing that really annoys you in the AFL at the moment?" And he thought for a while, and then he said Sam McClure. So he gave him a bit of a clip too, which is
a hot leg.
And I immediately sent a message to a few people. I said, "I like the kid. I like him." Hey, I've got the audio of that if you want to actually play it.
Yeah.
Do you want to?
Put it into your microphone, actually, brother, if you can pull it up easily. But, John, other trade stuff. We're going to get to the story where Collingwood came for you because the way I thought it happened was Eddie flew up to Brizzy with a suitcase full of pineapples. That's what I just assumed happened. And I'd love to know, like, how a club tries to seduce, how they try to seduce a player to come to their club. Do you want to get into it?
Well, Collingwood had a couple of cracks, Dino, and I was very appreciative of their advances. I stayed at the Brisbane Lions. Obviously, had a long connection there. I was captain of the footy club the second time, but the first time was about 04-05, and I would have been about only 22. It was after our premiership run, and you still you've been to 4 grand finals, so you think, you're just going to keep playing in grand finals. You don't want to leave that club. But
and your net worth at that point, oh boy, you're holding some aces.
Well, absolutely you are, because you're probably on about 130 grand.
Sorry,
got offered.
I didn't mean your net worth. I meant your worth in the game and the desire for them to get Jonathan Brown at that point.
Well, I suppose it's young, yeah. This was probably early days. This is before Juddy moved, so there wasn't a hell of a lot of player movement, especially younger players. But I just played in 4 grand finals, so it was a pretty decent-sized offer by Collingwood. Now, this was the day of the pre-Chris Judd Vizzy deal, so there was a lot of third-party deals that were suspect at best.
What is the Vizzy deal? It's just as quick as you can explain to me the Vizzy deal.
Well, Juddy came a contract within the salary cap, but then obviously Vizzy were a sponsor of Carlton, which the Pratts were a big part of the Carlton Footy Club at the time, so he became an ambassador of Vizzy, and that was all deemed to be legal and above board, even though, Juddy said he drove around an electric car, but I'm not sure driving around an electric car sort of adds up to getting paid an extra $3 million a year.
So
just because you recharge your battery instead of filling it up full of fuel. But
so would Collingwood have, essentially, would you have been like a producer on Millionaire Hot Seat or something? Would that have been like your job?
Well, I don't know, but the paid per appearance of a footy show would have gone up significantly, Broads. I would have been one of the highest paid people on the footy show, and considering my appearance, I wouldn't have been making an appearance every week. So obviously there was all those sorts of deals that were part of it. But I don't regret not going to Collingwood, but my greatest regret in life is not taking them up on an offer as part of the little dance they do when they're trying to cajole you and convince you to come to their footy club.
Seduce you.
They offered, exactly. They tried to seduce me to Collingwood with the offer of, why don't we fly you down to Sydney, and then we'll put you on a helicopter and we'll fly you into Kerry Packer, the late great Kerry Packer. We'll fly you and we'll land you at Kerry Packer's estate, and you'll sit there and have lunch with the great man and talk about the positives of playing for the Collingwood Football Club and obviously being connected with Channel 9 for a long, long time.
Are you serious, brother?
Now, mate, at that stage, I'm 22 years old, thinking, I don't want to move. I'll play with the Brisbane Lions. We've played in grand finals. I'm absolutely loving this. So I straight knocked it back. I look back and I sit back, and I know I've been compared to James Packer a lot in my looks, but I just wanted to go and meet the great man.
Wait,
imagine that, just holding court with Kerry Packer, or him holding court with me, just sitting there. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. Packer, and having lunch with him.
Imagine what would have been on the menu. So you could have done the chopper lunch at Kerry Packer's house and still said no. You still could have done that anyway.
Absolutely. There would have been lobsters for sure.
Mate, he's was one of my favourite Australians of all time. Him and John Singleton, what dreams are made of. They didn't mess around, mate.
No shit.
So don't you reckon, Brown Dog, you agree with that?
Yeah,
one of the great regrets.
He should have taken up that offer and just done the lunch and then come back with a solid, no, I'm not, but thanks very much for...
Thanks very much, Kerry. Or Mr. Packer.
He was a fearsome man too.
The beef
fearsome man. Everyone you talk to is just so intimidating, but they absolutely loved him. But for me to have my own Kerry Packer story would have been sensational, Dino.
Can you imagine John at the end of the lunch just leaning back going, that beef carpaccio was excellent, but no, I got to go. The chopper's leaving. See you later.
Yeah, no, I'll have another lobster mornay, thanks, Kerry. But it's fair to say, though, Dino, if I had made it to Kerry's place for lunch, I think it's safe to say I would have been playing for the Collingwood Football Club. I don't think he would have let me out of that property without actually signing or the commitment. He would have intimidated me into it.
You know that I've felt up James Packer.
Say that again.
What does that mean?
Before I worked in radio, I worked for like a media producing company, like they used to do like media productions and stuff. And we were doing the Crown AGM. Yeah. And I had to put like a lapel mic on his collar, and so I had to slide it under his shirt. And I was fumbling around, like trying to fumble my hand under James Packer's jumper. I was trying to pull it from the top. And I could see him like looking at me as I was getting a bit nervous and my hands are getting a bit sweaty. I was about 20.
Was there love in his eyes? No.
And then I dropped it when I got to the top again, so then I had to do the whole process again. Yeah. And he just about ripped my head off as I stood there trying to put this lapel mic on his collar.
Did he ask why you were trying to put the lapel on his testicles?
Yeah, again, that would have been a worthy question.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm reading his book at the moment. He's had an amazing life. Remember, Brown Dog, you might remember this. He was going through a few relationship issues at the time, and I think Channel 9 or the Today Show may have reported some of those issues, and he was just down the road at Bondi Beach, and David Gingell, who was the boss of Channel 9, his best mate at the time,
big argument
he confronted him in the street and had a dust-up in the street.
Rolling around,
and the
two billionaires rolling around in the gutter with no shoes on. And
that footage was insane.
Yeah, it was. An old-fashioned
our best mates,
brawl.
Dino.
That was wild. Just two billionaires having like a real bogan punch-up on the front lawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, because James took umbrage at what I suppose the network had done, and obviously Dave Gingell's in charge, so he felt as if his best mate should have protected him and looked after him. But
who would you back in that
mate, she
fight?
was on for young and old.
Who would you back in that fight?
Well, he was pretty fit at that stage. I don't reckon I've seen a greater yo-yoer than... We've all met yo-yoers in our careers and life and all that sort of stuff, but when it comes to the fitness game, geez, is there a greater yo-yoer than James Packer?
Yeah.
He's super fit, and then he stacks it on. And...
Yeah. Dog, what's it like to be traded?
Well, I wasn't traded. I was nearly traded to Port Adelaide the year before I left. That absolutely nearly happened. I knocked it back because I had another year to go on my contract. But I was an unrestricted free agent when I went to the Gold Coast Suns. Restricted would have meant I had to be in the top, I don't know,
15% or something?
Yeah, 10% of salary cap, which I obviously wasn't. So I could go to the Gold Coast Suns unless Hawthorn matched an offer, and they didn't. So that was sort of it's a weird.
Was there
feeling.
much difference in the offer, Brown Dog?
Yes, significant. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. In terms of both the length of it, so it was an extra year plus it was better money, and I was 27 years of age, and Hawthorn was sort of trying to get another group together to have an assault at a premiership, So there was a bit of change going on, but it is a sort of a weird feeling because I always thought once you get drafted to a footy club, you just chips in it. You're in love with it, and you play, as hard as you can for it for a long period of time. You get to know that the fans, and you're never going to leave.
Yep,
that was my mindset. I always thought I'd just be a one club player, but the reality is when you get a little bit, older, things change and circumstances change, and end up going up to the Gold Coast. But yeah, it's strange.
Did you feel like a mercenary, Brown Dog, which has sort of negative connotations, or when you rolled in the door, did you feel like a gunfire?
No, not necessarily. I mean, for me, a mercenary is you've purely left just for money. You know what I mean? Whereas, like Hawthorn offered me a 2-year deal, Gold Coast offered a 3-year deal. Plus, I would be 30 years of age.
Yep. And
they were like, we're going to have a young list. So if your body's holding up and your form's holding up, which it was, there's no reason why you couldn't get a 4th year or a 5th year, which should take you to 31, 32, right?
Yep.
Whereas Hawthorn were flat out, it's a 2-year deal. And once that 2-year deal's up, it'll be a tap on the shoulder. Thanks very much for your service, and you'll be done at 29.
You're out on the street.
Because Bruce and Suckling and Geray and Stratton and Isaac Smith and Piopolo and Whitecross and all these kids are there at the club coming through the ranks.
Yeah.
And they went on to be very good players.
Did you not remind them of your 2008 grand final performance?
Well, they would all remember because it was iconic. But I think footy just evolved so quickly, JB, and the game had evolved, and there'd been new rules come in, and Clarko's obviously looking for the next premiership model, right?
Yeah.
And there was a few of us that were a bit older, and I'm not going to say the game had gone past us, but we weren't the players we were.
It was an odd bunch. It was who? Jared Brennan, Nathan Bock,
Nathan
Ablett,
Cracker,
Michael
Nathan Cracker,
Jared Harbrow,
Carmichael Hunt.
Yeah, or I I looked at Carmichael Hunt like he was a new draftee, not an established player, because he wasn't. But it was an eclectic group, that's for sure.
Are there any major other trading points that aren't just bullshit speculation, Brodie?
The biggest one was certainly like Lachie Schultz from Freo. That was massive. Like he's a really good player, and he's going to be very good at Collingwood. And the fact that he's going to the Premiers and they're just going to get better because of it is pretty wild. All the rest.
How exciting is that, though, isn't it? To get for that club to reach out, the Premiership team to reach out to you and headhunt you. Why wouldn't you want to go over there? Obviously, Fremantle had a tough year. They might be able to bounce back this year, but they're certainly not going to win a premiership. So you would absolutely jump at the opportunity. Clearly, to me, Collingwood is in for the now. If you actually look at their list, like they're a good cheer. They're trying to win it next year, no question about it. But I think that they'll drop off the perch. If you actually look at their age demographic, they've got a lot of players now, the wrong side of 30 or heading in that direction.
Pendlebury, side bottom, Howe.
But I like the fact that they've been aggressive. And they've got bugger it. You know, while these guys are here, these great players that are still there, still got some left in the tank, why don't we have another crack at it? Because they're hard to win.
Well, I don't think there's ever been a premiership side that come round one of the next year have had the exact same 23 on their list. There's always been a retirement, a delisting, a trading, a whatever it may be. And right now at the Pies, they're all still there. Yeah. Jeremy Howe hasn't announced his retirement. Neither has Scott Pendlebury. No one has. So theoretically, unless something happens in the next few days with Jack Ginnivan, which we don't expect it to, they will be the first club, I believe, in AFL, VFL history that have the same side ready to rock and roll the following year, and they've topped it up a little bit, which makes them even stronger.
Is Jack Ginnivan in a weird spot because he's universally loved by the Pie Army? But he was the sub a lot. So what happens to his price at contract time?
Oh, I think he just backs himself in. He loves the club. He's just played in a premiership. He'll be having a really enjoyable off-season. And this trade of Lachie Schultz, plus they went out and got Bobby Hill last year, it should be the competitive nature that he needs to go, I need to get fitter, I need to get better, I need to get back to some of the form I had, not this year, last year. Yeah. So I'm not the sub. I'm kicking goals. I'm part of the best 22. Back yourself in. If he was 28, you'd be thinking like I probably was when I made the decision to go to the Gold Coast. Geez, you back yourself in, but for how long for? But he's 21 years of age. So
he's a young man.
He
did some nice things late in the year as a sub. I thought Brown Dog. He was injured early in the year. He did some nice things late in the year, except for making an appearance at Moonee Valley Racecourse the night before a grand final. So
now, before we go to the first break, it says here on the run sheet, legal letter to Daily Mail. John, what the hell?
Yeah, it was interesting. Last week, I was shocked when obviously Sandra Sully, the Daily Mail at the moment, when they decided to roll with an article about when Adam Gilchrist came on our podcast. Now, how long ago would that have been, guys?
Months, 2 months?
Oh, yeah, 8 weeks.
Yeah, and Gilly told an amazing story about going to the top of, is it Table Mountain over in Cape Town? Celebrating the boys after they won the Test victory, and I think Haydos was nude on top of the cable car, and Warney had organised it, all that sort of stuff. Anyway, it was a great story, but Daily Mail thought, they'd roll with this article, even though it was 8 weeks a little bit late. And they led with a quote. This is obviously the quote coming from Gilly. "We got a bus. Warney made a few calls. It was about midnight. Gilchrist told Brownie's podcast with Campbell Brown."
Whoa! Yeah.
Now,
you've been usurped.
So I went through it, and I'm thinking, okay, that's fair enough. So obviously I'll get a mention. Not at any stage in the podcast did any of us get a mention, including myself, apart from Campbell Brown. So Brownie's podcast with Campbell Brown. So I wasn't happy about this situation, guys.
John, I wouldn't expect to get a mention in that article for, obvious reasons. But for you, triple premiership, Collingwood medalist.
Mark of the year.
Mark of the to not get a mention is worth some kind of legal action.
Also, you are the boss and pay all of us, so it's really you really are the Brownie of Brownie's podcast.
It was an oversight, so I got onto me lawyers throughout the week because I thought we just can't have this because it's been a misrepresentation of the greatest note. So I sent a legal letter, Dino.
Oh, sorry. Oh, shit. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So So would you just be able to take a moment or two to? Would you like me to read it out to you guys?
We'll give you the respect it deserves.
So I've sent this through. It was titled "Correction of Name Mix-Up: Campbell v Jonathan Brown." I hope this letter finds you in the midst of another exciting day of breaking stories, juicy scandals and celebrity gossip. First, allow me to express my admiration for your relentless pursuit of sensational headlines. In a world filled with ordinary newspapers, the Daily Mail stands out like a Buddy Franklin appearance at a Hawks premiership reunion. Now on to the matter at hand. Recently, I had the immense pleasure of hosting my own podcast episode, that's highlighted, featuring the legendary Adam Gilchrist, during which he regaled us with one particular Shane Warne story that enthralled us all, including my sidekicks, Dino, Brodie and Campbell Brown.
Oh, that's kind.
However, imagine my surprise when I read your recent article, which you mentioned my esteemed podcast, but mistakenly referred to me as Campbell Brown. It is a major misrepresentation of the podcast to refer to it as Brownie's podcast with Campbell Brown. At no stage was I mentioned in your article. I understand that mistakes happen, and the best of us occasionally misplace our notes or get confused between different Browns. But this one I can't understand, as Campbell isn't even the most popular Brown in his own family. We all know the answer to that, don't we?
Mal.
To rectify this egregious error, I kindly request that you print a correction in your esteemed publication. Here's a suggested text for your convenience. So I'm just helping him out with the work.
Yeah, that's handy.
This is the correction I would like Daily Mail to put out there this week. In a recent article discussing Brownie's podcast, which featured cricket legend Adam Gilchrist, we erroneously referred to the host as Campbell Brown. We regret this mix-up and would like to clarify that the host is, indeed, Jonathan Brown, and we apologise for any confusion. We sincerely hope this correction can put this matter to rest and restore the rightful host's name to Brownie's podcast. In future, please remember that while there are many Browns in the world, there's only one Jonathan Brown. The man with a voice for podcasts, roof-lifting renditions of Sweet Caroline, and spectacular marks of the year. Thank you for your prompt attention to this matter, and I look forward to your unequivocal correction. In the meantime, I'll keep the microphone warm for the next episode of Brownie's podcast, which is guaranteed to keep your readers entertained and enlightened.
You son of a bitch. That is, mate. You can't argue with that.
You can't. No, it's...
So I await.
You don't have a lot to do when the footy season's over, do you? You just sit there at home waiting for shit to do.
It's not the first time, JB, that they have got you mixed up, though, for me, because leading into my 200th game up at the Gold Coast Suns, the Brisbane News, right, led with this story.
To add extra spice, the match marks Jonathan Brown's 200th in the 8th.
And it's vision of me kicking a goal for the Suns. You were the captain of the club up there, and they still mixed you up.
That is unbelievable.
What's happening?
And back in a second. Hey, welcome back to Brownie's podcast. Time for Who is the Smartest Man on Earth competition. We're going to work on that title. Last time we had Brodie here take on a guy called Kane about their footy knowledge, and you dusted him up, fair to say.
Yeah, I did.
We offered to have Kane come in the studio because there was a delay on the phone that gave you an advantage. You got to admit that.
Yeah.
But then we found out Kane insulted one of our dear friends, Shari, off the WhatsApp, and until he apologises and be a decent human, he can get. So what's happening now?
Well, I've had so many people reach out to me and try and challenge me because they think that A, they could have beat me in the last quiz, and B, that I just have no footy knowledge, which I can categorically say I am very well versed on football knowledge, particularly from 95 to 2023.
So who are we taking on now, brother?
Chris. Big Chrissy.
Chris. All right, let's see what Chris reckons. Where's he from?
Couldn't tell you.
Oh, cool. I'll ask him.
Good research, producer.
Hey, Chris, ever heard of picking up your phone? You mongrel.
Hello.
Chris, you naughty big son of a bitch. How you going?
Oh, the boy.
Where are you from, Chris? Tell us about yourself.
Me? I'm in Melbourne.
Uh-huh.
And what was the second question? Sorry, I'm just getting off the work site.
What do you do for a living, pal? What are your
I
hobbies?
am a project manager for an electrical company.
Excellent. Now you're here to take on Brodie in football trivia. I believe Campbell has all the questions, and this is for a lot of pride, and we'll probably throw you a prize if you can beat Brodie, who frankly is a freak. So all good, all ready to go.
Let's go.
Chris, names are buzzers, mate, so just buzz in with Chris if you can try and beat me, all right?
Let's test your buzzer there, Chris. Test it, please.
Chris.
Bit quicker, I reckon.
All right, guys, are you ready?
Let's go.
What year did Shane Crawford win the Brownlow medal?
Brodie.
Chris.
2004.
Incorrect.
For the steal?
1999.
Bang!
Well done. Hey, and Brown Dog, just quickly, did he catch the garbage truck home from the count? He jumped on the back of the garbage truck.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I heard that.
Why?
Maybe false, but anyway,
We'll get confirmation of that.
Question 2.
Name Sydney's 3 current captains.
Brodie. Dane Rampy.
Yes.
Luke Parker.
Yes.
Callum Mills.
Correct. 1 all.
Squared it up.
obviously there'll only be 2 captains for the majority of the year. Millsy's a bit sore.
Who won
The people's elbow.
last year's Mark of the Year?
Brodie.
Jesus.
Jesus
Mitch Georgiadis from Port Adelaide, baby.
Hey, Chris, did you know that one?
That's cheating.
Chris, did you know the answer to that one?
Had no idea.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Question 3. 2-1.
Who won the 2012 Grand Final?
Chris.
Brodie.
Chris?
2012 would have been Sydney.
Nah,
That is
got a buzzing
correct.
out.
2 all. They
Chris,
just snuck
a
it in.
yellow card there because that reeks of Google time.
Yeah.
It was the one before Hawthorn won their 3-peat and Buddy went up there after the first one.
That's it.
I'm
exactly right.
I'm just saying we need a bit of pace for that answer.
You were Googling, that's why you got all that extra information, Chris.
Who was the number 1 draft pick in 2022?
Brodie.
Chris, that was Chris got him first.
2022 was Harry Sheasel.
Incorrect.
Ooh, incorrect.
Incorrect.
It was GWS traded up to get him. It was the great Aaron Cadman, full forward.
Yeah, that is correct. 3-2
3-2
to Brodie. 2 questions remain.
Okay.
Before this year's All-Australian selection of Nick and Josh Dacos, who were... Stop. Who were the other brothers that were selected in the All-Australian team? And if you can tell me the year, it's a bonus point.
Brodie.
Well, we think we've heard your buzzer.
I did say Chris halfway through the question, but anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, do you want to take it, Chris?
Yeah, you take it, Chris.
Chris and Brad Scott.
No.
It was the great Chad and Kane Corns, I believe in 2007.
Yeah,
Jesus,
that's
all
correct.
questions are a bit iffy, boys.
Yeah.
All right.
That's the 4 that makes it unassailable.
Last question with bonus points attached.
Is this worth double points, are you saying, Dog?
So name 3 sets of brothers in the AFL.
Brodie.
And there's 7 of them, so you can get bonus points.
Brodie. You have the Holland brothers.
Yes.
One who plays for Gold Coast, one who plays for Carlton.
Yeah.
You have the Dacos brothers.
Correct.
You have the Kernos, although Ed's now retired.
Yeah,
you
that's
have
fair.
the Mackay's. You
And
have
then rub it in there, Buddy.
you have the Brayshaws.
Yes.
You have
Settle down,
the
Rain Man.
He's not Rain Man.
There's one
Can
more.
we
if you
put
get it
can
for
we
a
put this
bonus.
bloke on a word limit? Can we
you
put
have-
Brady on a word
You
limit?
have Brad and Matt Crouch, one from Adelaide, one from
yes.
St Kilda, and you have
yeah,
the
head
DeConnings, I reckon, one from
mate.
Geelong, one
Okay.
from
The
Carlton.
Also,
again, and I think
Spiros and Tony Malakalis, are they still playing?
I think we're all slightly annoyed by this, but the winner unanimous.
Oh, yes,
It's
baby.
Brodie.
God.
Well
Hey,
done.
Chris. Sorry, man.
Were you impressed by that,
How's that
Chris?
delay going?
Yeah, the delay sucks. Next time we're getting the competitor in studio. Thanks for coming
Nah,
on, mate. All the
good,
best.
fellas.
Jesus.
I thought those questions were good today. I thought
thought so too.
they were hard enough to really test your IQ,
Yes.
but and not impossible. You
I'd
know?
say I was better this time than the first
Yeah,
one.
you were.
You were,
That was
man.
good.
You were on fire, John.
How can we seduce them into the studio? Much like Kerry Packer offered me to have lunch
Yes.
at his estate. How can we seduce them into the studio so we don't have the excuse of The phone lines were delayed.
I reckon a slab of Carlton Draft would do it, honestly. Like, right? Am I wrong there?
Or dinner at Jonathan's house.
Or what?
Dinner at Jonathan's
Well, I
house.
don't have dinner there. I'm not there at the moment, though. Yeah, what a slab of Carlton Draft.
Yeah, all right, bro. So get him in. That's what you have to. Anyone that applies, that's their payment. Okay.
Okay.
A slab of Carlton Draft.
Hey, I was listening to. I'm not a massive soccer fan.
Girls.
Oh, this is huge. This is huge.
I'm not a massive soccer fan, but I do like to. There's the Premier League, which is obviously the best, and then there's tiers in English soccer, and it goes all the way down. And no matter if you're in the first tier or the fifth tier, supporters, fans, they're just as passionate. You know, sometimes even more because you don't want to be relegated. You want to continue to go up.
Yes.
So I came across the Dorking Wanderers. Who are a team in Surrey over in England, and a really competitive side. They were playing Horsham, and they were expected to go and play Horsham and get the job done, beat them. They lost 2-0. And it's fair to say that their manager, Mark White, wasn't happy with the team's performance. Let's have a listen to his interview.
They deserve to be, fully deserve to be in the draw, and hopefully, I really hope they get something amazing that's life-changing, so my shit players can learn a lesson.
So it's fair to say that caught me by surprise a bit because he was deadpan. He didn't show any form of anger.
Can you believe that audio, John?
Anyway,
Was that Mark White or Mel Brown, the coach?
Mark White really sending a message to his players, but it didn't end there. He kept going.
They were so poor. And I'll tell you one thing, I will always put my hand up. It's not about availability, injuries, who was returning, who wasn't. Sometimes I get the management team to take the blame, part blame, some blame, whatever. Today was wholeheartedly a bunch of players that were absolutely shit.
How do you reckon, in all seriousness, because as a player, and JB, you would know this better than anyone. Straight after a game, you go down the race, you do your recovery, your hot and colds, your massage, you speak to physios, you stretch, you do whatever it is. You go into a team meeting, your coach addresses certain things, right? You go off and get changed and shower, and he goes to the press conference. And quite often, sometimes, certainly with Clarko, the message that he gave us might be scathing, and the players, right? Yeah. And then he'll go to the press conference, and it'll be completely different because the narrative he wants to put forward to the media is, I'm not going to blame the players, I'm going to take responsibility, whatever it may be, right? And you don't see that press conference. You jump in your car or your bus, you get on a plane, you go home. Quite often until the next day, when you might get up early before you head into training, you open the paper up and you're reading the paper, right? And then you'll see the quotes of the coach in the post-game press conference, and they can be different. How do you reckon the players of the Dorking Wanderers would go waking up the next day and see their gaffer saying they were just shit?
All right, we're going to go to the ads. We're just going to play the first grab again to take us to the ads.
They deserve to be, fully deserve to be in the draw, and hopefully, I really hope they get something amazing that's life-changing, so my shit players can learn a lesson.
Imagine if he didn't address them, because sometimes coaches don't address them because they're too emotional, Brown Dog. So imagine if he actually didn't address the team and they woke up the next day to that.
He didn't want a bar of it.
Sending a message.
Back in a second.
This is Brownie's Podcast.
Welcome back to Brownie's Podcast. If you love us, tell a mate, get them to subscribe. Hello to all the...
thanks for listening too, Dino. The Degenerates, fantastic family. We love them all.
Absolutely. Real quickly, the Beck's doco on Netflix is unbelievable. You guys are all got to watch it. Like, it's not sugar-coated. Him and Bex and Posh, they look good in it. But the players they get, John Cantona... Keane.
I love Cantona. Mate, how would you explain Eric Cantona? What does he have, Dino?
You know the phrase big dick energy? There is no one that embodies big dick energy than Eric Cantona. And, mate, he is so funny in it. And the footage is unbelievable. Watch this doco.
He's half
He's just
mad
got
too.
a cool arrogance about him, doesn't he? And the first thing when I saw the Bex doco, the first thing I did was took my young fella Jackie Boy down and got YouTube on and showed him the Eric Cantona kung fu kick into the front row. That was unbelievable. So he gets sent off, and as he's running off, an opposition spectator in the front row is giving it to him. So Eric Cantona, instead of giving him a mouthful back, goes the full kung fu kick and flies into the crowd. Mate, imagine if you did this in this day and age. You'd be banned for 20 years. I think he got 12 months suspension. It was unbelievable. He was the captain of Man U at the time.
He was attempting to swim the English Channel too at some stage. I don't know if he ever went ahead and did it or pulled out. But
I think he got into acting as well at some point. But anyway, watch the Bex stuff.
You've got to be really courageous and brave to even attempt the English Channel.
You do.
Hey, now, my water worlds are usually quite morbid, a bit left of centre. This one is unbelievable, and it's a feel-good story because on the weekend is the biggest race in Australian sport. It's the Everest, okay? The $20 million race up in Sydney. And the TAB ran a competition. It was free to enter for anyone that wanted to. You had to get the 12 runners that were racing in order, right? First to 12th, for your chance to win $10 million.
Jeez,
right?
That's not that hard, is it?
Now, well, it doesn't sound hard, right? But it's 480 million to 1, the odds of that.
Wow.
Yep, 480 million to 1. Anyway, one lucky punter. He just thought, why not? Didn't know anything about racing. He just decided to fill in the form, and he got the 12 sprinters. First, think about it. Second, I wish I win. Third, private eye. Fourth, in secret. Fifth, cylinder. Sixth, Hawaii 5-0. Seventh, Espiona. Eighth, Buenos Noches. Ninth, Shinzo. 10th, Overpass. 11th, Marzu. And 12th, alcohol free. In order.
What?
And the TAB rang him and they said, congratulations, mate, you've won $10 million.
What? 10 mil?
What a world.
Wow.
So it's hard enough to just get the winner, right? Mate, some people put on trifectas to get the first, second, and third. That bloody hard, mate. First four.
Imagine
really
the weight.
hard.
Imagine the weight, Brown Dog. Because obviously first, second, third, and usually fourth for the top four. But imagine the weight. He would have been waiting for the official results, all the placings.
Yep.
He would have been studying the film. Was he at the track? I wonder. Or was he at home?
He wanted to remain anonymous. It's life-changing money, and he said he wasn't at the track because he's over in New Zealand, and he just entered this because it was free, and he thought, why not? And absolutely nailed it. Yeah. And there was a heap of them that crossed the line altogether.
Yep.
Where there's a nose, a couple of inches between 6th and 8th, and if you got the order around the wrong way, so that is what a world.
Unbelievable.
Well done.
Great podcast.
Hey, Caulfield Cup tip, west wind blows. For this Saturday, it's about $7 each way. It's my selection for the cup.
Right on. Have a good week. We'll talk to you then. All the best.
Love you, degenerates.